is so very easy. My name is Laura, and let's make a nice big floor cushion. Now this floor cushion is going to be a little bit different as we're not going to use a stuffing, which means we're not going to have any lumps and bumps. We're going to use quilt batting. And by using the quilt batting, not only is it going to be a floor cushion, but it can be used as a sleep mat. The first thing we're going to start off with a queen size high loft 100% polyester batting. Now this one is from Fairfield, and what's great is it is bonded, so the fibers are going to stay together. We're going to start with a queen size because we're going to fold it to make it really, really thick. So here is a regular batting, and it's quite thin, and you'll see that the high loft is quite thick. Now we're going to fold this. I'm going to show you on a small piece because you will not be able to see it under the camera with a large piece. So this represents the really big piece of batting, and it's 90 inches by 108 inches. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to fold it in half. That 90 inches now is 45. From here we're going to fold that length 3 times. So we're going to fold it into thirds and then fold it in thirds again. You now have a 36-inch piece. Fold your batting so that both raw edges are on the outside, not so that the raw edge is inside. And we are going to work with it this way. When that big piece of batting has been folded together, you'll notice that it's very, very thick. There are 6 layers there. And those 6 layers equal 5 inches. What we need to do is cut them apart so they're all going to be loose. By cutting them apart, you're going to be able to just take your scissors in between that fold and cut right along that edge. And by cutting all of those layers separate, the pillow is going to be equal. The fold will actually make it different than a cut side, so we want them all cut. So I'll take one piece at a time, put my scissors in, and just cut all the way along that fold. When that fold has been cut, you're going to be able to go in and cut that second fold. So what you need to do is cut all of the sides so all the folds are cut. If you have a really big cutting mat, you can actually just take this and cut it into 6 pieces. So each piece would be 45 by 36. But if you don't have room, this method will work just fine. And now that all the layers are loose, it's going to seem strange, but we're going to stitch them back together. The reason we've cut them apart is we want the pillow to be equal on all sides, and the fold makes it smaller because it holds it together. To stitch them together, it's going to be really quick. They're just big stitches just to hold the layers. We're going to use a book binder needle. And this is a very strong, long, sharp needle with a big hole on the end. You need to use a good strong thread, and hand quilting cotton works great. So just take that big needle and shove it through all the layers. And just make these big loops. And what this is going to do is it's just going to hold the layers together so it won't shift if you need to wash it or when you're making it. So go all the way around and stitch those layers together. And when this has been stitched together, stitch some lines through the centers of the quilt. So I will do 4 lines, 2 going in each direction. And again, I'm not going to squish it. I just want them to hold it together. So just take that needle and push it up and then bring it down. And your stitches can be very big. So I'm going to just do those stitches all the way down. And that's going to hold all the layers together. Now all of my layers are together. Let's work on the cover. There are many different fabric choices that you can use. You could use denim, you could use a faux fur. In this case, because I'm making this for a 2-year-old, I have decided to choose 2 panels that would go together very nicely. Now these happen to be from Susie B, and I'm going to put them together so it is going to be reversible. The panels were not quite big enough, so I added a border all the way around. You will need 2 pieces of fabric, 38.5 inches by 47.5 inches. So it doesn't matter what your fabric choice is, those are the sizes you're going to need to go with that batting. And place the fabric together, right sides touching. In each of the 4 corners, cut out a 2-inch square. And you can do that with the fabric together. You will need to sew the 2 pieces together to make like a really big pillowcase. And you're going to need an opening in the bottom. Now you're going to have to put that entire piece of batting in, so you're going to have to leave a really big opening. But you do want to close off a little bit in the corners. So stitch all the way around, leaving the opening. When the sides have been stitched down, we need to stitch those corners together. This side and this side need to be sewn together. So you'll be able to take the fabric and pull it apart, and you're going to be able to line up that cut line. You can match up the seams and stitch right down that corner. And do that for the 4 corners. And with those 4 corners stitched, you have a 4-inch box seam. You can turn the entire thing right side out. Now we need to get that big pillow form that we made inside of that pillowcase. And there's a really easy way to do it. Take that big pillow and fold it in half and slip it inside of a bag. It could be a garbage bag, it could be any bag at all. Nice big one works best. The bag makes this very slippery, so it'll slide really easily into that pillowcase. And you're going to be able to just slip that right in all the way to the end. Leave that bag in there until you get all of the end in. Once the pillow is in the opening, you're going to be able to put your hands inside and remove that plastic bag. Then you're going to be able to take that and push it right back to where it belongs. And because that opening's nice and big, you're going to be able to get your arms right inside and pull that so it gets right in to the sides and the corners. Check and make sure that the corners are poked out nice and square. And when everything's put in right, the edge will need to be closed. Because this is such a large seam, I would recommend just doing a little running stitch to hold that seam back a 1/4 inch and to do it on both sides. Then you're going to be able to match up those seams and just do a whip stitch and close that off. And when you finish whip stitching those, you're going to be able to just remove that basting and that seam will be closed. The very last thing is to put some little tuffets or to tie it, just like you would do a tied quilt. You're going to need a thread that's a little bit heavier, thicker, and strong because you don't want it to rip through the fabric. You can get a thread that's quite heavy, and it's called button or carpet thread. You'll need 2 strands of it and that nice big needle again. And just put that needle in all the way to the one side, turn it around, and poke it back out. You'll be able to keep one long thread and pull close to the end. Hold on to the loose ends, just tie it off. You don't need to tie it so that all of those layers are smushed together. You just need to do it so that it's going to hold those layers together and it's going to have just a little bit of an indent. And then tie the thread 2 or 3 times to secure it and trim off the ends. Now you can put as many ties as you'd like. I found that starting with 9 usually works out good. You could always put additional if you feel that you need it. Now we're done that nice big floor cushion. Having all those layers of batting in there is making it nice and smooth so it'll be comfortable for a nap or to sit and read on. It's a fun project to make no matter what fabric you choose. I do hope you give it a try, and as always, thank you for joining me today on Sew Very Easy. Feel free to subscribe, and as always, come on back. Let's see what we're sewing next time in the sewing room. Bye for now.